How you doing, y'all? Welcome to Confidence. On today's episode, we are going to talk about the black cat, golden retriever energy, right? That dating theory. I'm going to tell you what it is. People that don't know, it's on TikTok. I honestly didn't really know what it was too, but then I looked it up and it's not bad. I think it's valid. Then we're going to talk about I just read a multiple news article, just about how women these days are moving more towards the trad wife, which is short for traditional wife lifestyle, over the boss babe lifestyle. It's like an anti-feminist movement that is happening in our culture in the US. So we're going to talk about maybe why that's happening. We're going to talk about the implications of that and just, whatever the fuck else comes out of my mouth. And then we have a question from one of the listeners. And guys, by the way, if you ever want me to react to a situation or something that's going on in your head, a dating question, a lifestyle question, anything, shoot me a DM and just let me know that you have a question. And honestly, I will answer it here on the podcast. But speaking of which, I do have a guy that reached out to me, which is awesome. And he asked me a question about surviving no contact. So that's going to be the last part of the podcast, is talking about no contact. He has a question about how it's going to feel. We're going to talk about how it feels, how to survive it, when to break it, how to break it if you need to break it. And yeah, we'll talk a little bit about my situation. So, even just, with that being said, I'm on week 2, right? The guy's back. He's purely, he's purely single now again. And with that being said, I think I'm in some sort of mild no contact. I know on the last podcast, I was talking about how, I went through this very amicable separation with the long distance situation. And long story short, we kind of just kept it open and kept it friendly. But to be honest, it just didn't feel right when we were reaching out or, talking to each other past that time, right? In order for us to truly separate and reach the goals and do the things that we were discussing, I don't believe that we can do contact. And we had a very real and serious conversation about that, but I'm going to leave that to the no contact phase of this podcast. I do want to talk about the black cat and golden retriever energy. But before I even do that, let's take a stroll down this week for a second. I'm gonna be honest with you. I've made a serious mental shift for myself, just with my life. And it's funny. I feel like every single week I come on here, I got a mental shift, saying I've changed my life. But really, I'm not going to say my life has changed dramatically. It's honestly been actually a pretty hard time for me the last week. But something that I'm leaning more into is allowing myself to experience negative emotions with a lot less guilt. And I think that's what's happening to me, or had happened to me just over my life, is this. I've been reading this book. I'm not telling you the name. I fucking gatekeep. It's so fucking good. But it's about people pleasing, and it's about just this idea that being nice is actually a bad thing. And it's just this idea that the idea of nice, like what is being nice? Nice is not just like a good thing. It actually is a negative thing, because nice is really more about the approval of others. So whenever your parents, you grew up, we all grew up, what was the advice? Be nice to everybody you meet. Be nice. Everything is nice. You got to be nice. But what is nice? Nice is, make sure you give the approval to other people. Make sure not to ruffle feathers. Make sure not to bring confrontation, right? And that is something that I'm learning to let go of, right? I mean, trust me, I'm up here on my high horse talking about people pleasing, being authentic, but that's the truth. The idea of nice is actually anti-authenticity. It means that what you believe authentically should not be said or spoken just in case it offends somebody or ruffles some feathers or brings this contact to people. But that's what I want to teach. Fuck teaching. I hate the word teaching, or guiding. This is where I want to guide you, just because for me, it's been such a breakthrough. Fuck being nice. Fuck not contacting. And what I mean by that is life, confrontation is part of life. Challenge is part of life. And actually, the more that you can build a healthier relationship with challenge and confrontation, actually, the more authentic, the more honest, the more real, the more success, the more confidence, and the better your relationships are really going to be. The more that you can get familiar and okay with confrontation. And to be honest, I'm going to keep it real. I teach a lot about boundaries, and in a lot of ways, I'm great with my boundaries in certain ways, right? Communication, letting people know what I feel, especially in the realms of romantic relationships. But there is so much more work that I can do in terms of my life, in terms of just general conversation with other human beings, where I am always thinking about, oh, I got to be nice to these people. Why? I need to be able to speak up and say what I need at all times. Why am I afraid to tell somebody exactly how I feel, even if it's in opposition of how they feel? Because that's truly authenticity. Authenticity is sticking and promoting and sharing your values and beliefs without regard for the responsibility of how somebody else is going to take that. Now, do I believe in a calm message, in a factual message? Yes. Like, it's not about attacking somebody else. It's not saying that their views are wrong. It's stating yours. That's all it is. It's a statement or it's an action of the way that you feel or believe. But I guess in this work that I've been doing, trying to let go of this idea of just being nice to people, I've realized that I've repressed just the feelings of anger, right? Like, when you're nice to people, what happens is you play nice, right? You're playing a role. You're not being truly authentic. You hold on to underlying resentment towards others. That's what I do sometimes too, right? We all sacrifice ourselves for others sometimes, right? We're just being nice, right? Instead of speaking up how we feel. We do it all the time. I know it. We all do it. And what happens is for me, especially, because I never really liked confrontation, and I have this like almost negative view of anger, I don't allow that emotion to run through me. And what happens is I end up pleasing, right? I end up maybe just being like, I don't want to argue with this person, or I don't really want to deal with this person. So you know what? Let me just let it go. Let me just say, fuck it. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with a reaction of just like letting something go. But my whole idea, my whole point is what I'm trying to do this week, and I guess moving forward in my life, is have a better relationship with anger. And what I mean by that is allow myself to be upset by something. Allow myself, if something is in opposition of what I believe, think to myself, okay, what I feel matters, right? I'm not going to back down or be afraid to tell somebody how I feel or what I want to do. And if they don't like it, they could just turn around and tell me they don't want to do it, right? And that's what I'm realizing is letting that emotion fuel me. And again, not reacting in anger, not being pissed off at people. That's not what I want to do. But what I want to do is I want to be able to let that anger or I let that emotion flow through me, allow myself to be upset, but communicate in a calm but direct and assertive way. And that's what I'm realizing about life is if you wanted to lean into more confidence, and that's for me, it's like weird because, me, I feel like a very confident, assertive person, but in a lot of ways, I was repressing a lot of this anger. I was repressing just a lot of these feelings of, again, I even notice it, how much I care about the approval of others. People will come up to me at the gym and start talking to me for 5 minutes. And instead of ending the conversation, I feel the need to sit there and continue to talk to people. Sometimes I won't make a plan with people because I'm like, oh, but what if they're busy? Yo, hey, you want to chill this week? Yeah, I'm down. All right, Friday, I'll be there. I did that this week to a guy friend. I said, all right, Saturday, let's do Saturday night. Oh, perfect, bro, I'm down. But it's weird because in the past, I'd probably think to myself, all right, yo, let's chill soon, dude. And then no one ever ends up making a plan and you guys don't actually end up hanging out because no one's assertive enough to say a date and a time and where. Because we don't want to piss off the other person or we don't want to feel like we're overstepping our boundaries, right, with the other person. And that's what I'm recognizing too in general is like, the challenge that I have for you and even for myself is treat everybody exactly like that. No matter how rich, no matter how many followers, no matter how cool, no matter how hot, I am treating you exactly authentically how I would treat you. If I was going to make a joke in this situation, I'm going to make a joke. If I want to do something, I'm going to say what I want to do. Even if everybody in this room does not like what I want to do, the whole aspect is not shying away from the things that you truly believe no matter what. And we all do it, right? We meet somebody that's pretty cool or attractive. Very easily, we go into that approval-seeking mode, right? Oh, I don't want to do too much. Oh, he's pretty busy, or they're pretty busy. Oh, sorry. Hey, sorry. It's pleasing. It's pleasing. It's not authenticity. And that's what I'm learning about myself. Like, I'm preaching authenticity every fucking day up here, right? And even me, I still doing the work to get to that ultimate level of authenticity of just being really honest in what I believe and the things that I truly care about and speaking up for that and not being afraid of that. And again, allowing myself to, honestly, for me, I think my biggest battle is being okay with confrontation and honestly being really okay with it. Like, again, even if somebody is very attractive or high status, I'm not going to treat you any different. I'm going to crack a sarcastic joke. If you don't get it, I'm not going to hold that against myself. I'm not living for your approval. I'm going to act in the way that I want to act. I'm going to behave in the ways that I really like. Now, it doesn't mean you can't take feedback from people. And it doesn't mean you're doing all good things, right? There's a difference between, to me, healthy guilt versus unhealthy guilt. Healthy guilt is when you're not living in congruence with your values. So if I lied to somebody, I would apologize for that. Hey, I'm sorry. I didn't, that's not really something it aligns with my values. Now, am I going to apologize for somebody if I said, hey man, I can't make this day? And he turns around, dude, you're the worst. You're the worst friend ever. I'm not going to say sorry. You know what I'm saying? Because right there, oh, what do we do? Please. Oh, so sorry, man. You know what? Actually, let me make this up to you. That's not, it didn't hurt my values. Why am I feeling guilty for telling somebody that I didn't want to go to an event? You get what I'm saying? That's unhealthy guilt. We're holding ourselves accountable for doing something or somebody else's feelings for the way that we authentically feel. So that has been something I've been really stepping into this week, and I just wanted to share with y'all. But it is interesting because my new thing is like, okay, Chris, let's take this on a max level, right? So lately on my TikTok, you probably haven't seen because I have no more views because of this, but I'm posting more stuff that is truly authentic and aligned to me. You know what? I make a lot of content that, and don't get me wrong, I'm still going to make like my funny skits or whatever it is. I'll come up with some good ideas. I think there does need to be a level of content that does get the masses tickling and going. But for the most part, I've always dreamed of being a creator that can just express freely the things that I want to express. And what I mean by that is just like bullshit. That is me. That is Chris Nappy. Chris Nappy is just like, I'm fucking around. I'm like eating a bowl of cereal or like just random things, going to get coffee. I'm shirtless. Like it is what it is. Like that's just my life, And that's the stuff that I want to share. And sometimes when I love to deliver the value, don't get me wrong, right? Like we're going to talk about some pretty heavy topics here in a second. But on the underneath, it's like, what I really love is to bullshit. I really love to just fuck around and be playful. And sometimes I feel like I shy away from that stuff because I recognize that not everybody's going to get it. So because not everybody gets it and it's not very viral, I shy away from it. But that's my truth. And that's approval. And this is what I guess I was trying to get to is like, that's the approval seeking on a very large way, right? I mean, social media in general, that's really what it is. When you don't have enough likes or views or whatever, you are not getting the approval of others and you feel inadequate. But true authenticity would be being like, no, this is legit how I feel. I don't care if nobody watches it. I don't care if y'all don't feel what I feel. Like the reality is if I keep sharing who I authentically am without fear of disapproval by the masses or the fact that I have 1 million followers, but I'm getting 700 views. If I can overcome that feeling of like, it is what it is. But did it make me laugh? That's what I need to ask myself. Did it make me laugh? Did I think it was funny? Did I like the video? Is it truly me? And if those questions are yes, who gives a fuck what the views are? Now, it's a lot easier said than done when it's not your job. And I think that's why I struggled with this for so long. But what's very nice about the dating thing is I do deliver valuable content in the podcast in other ways that it gives me an avenue to just maybe go on my regular account and just fuck around. Because that's the art that I truly want to create. But this is also, don't get me wrong. I love the intelligence side as well, right? That there's duality to me in a lot of ways. But again, I think the thing that calls to me the most is just that vulnerable, raw, bullshit art. You know what I'm saying? Just me in those raw moments. Just that's the shit I want to post. That's the shit I want to create. So trying to lean into that, trying to lean into my authenticity so much more. I've been doing so much work on that. And it's great because, again, I'm a coach that preaches this, teaches it. I'm only getting stronger and better at learning to be my authentic self. And I'm trying to share that with people because truly, that is the pathway to success and happiness in my mind. It is. The more that I do that, the more confident I feel. The more my relationships will thrive. The reality is I'm just at the point where I'm betting on myself. Truly. Betting on myself in the sense of it's not a competition versus others. I'm not here to one up other people or leg up on people. What I mean by that is bet on myself in the sense of if I double down what is truly authentic to me and I share and express the things that are authentic to me, I do the things that I truly love, people are going to find me. People are going to gravitate towards that. And the right people, and I'm talking about not only from a work perspective, from an art perspective, from a views perspective, I'm talking about from a friendship perspective. I'm talking about from a romantic connection perspective. Like that's the key behind all of this, right? All of this work that we talk about on here. It really comes down to free expression of self. And when you learn to lean into it as hard as possible, that is when your life evolves. Again, that's when you get the success in the areas that you want them. That's when you get your healthiest relationships because the people around you are purely genuine. Think about this. If I'm making a sarcastic joke in front of 5 new people and all 5 of those people hate the joke, or not even just that one joke, or just my personality in general, I just let loose, right? You know, I come outside, I dress the way that I want to. I don't know, maybe I'm holding a set of balloons, doing whatever the fuck I want to do. And these people think I'm weird. Okay, you're not part of my tribe then. But what's great is, if I keep doing that, eventually I will find people that will surround me. And that's the best part is now all I have to do is show up and be myself in front of all these people, and they love me and appreciate me for literally exactly who I am. Talk about a free and easy life. I mean, think about this. Every single coachee, right, that I've ever had, let's be honest. And let's be honest about everybody on here right now. Let's keep it a million. What are we seeking in a relationship? What is everybody genuinely underneath want in a relationship? And to me, it's to feel completely seen for genuinely who you are. You want to feel appreciated and loved for being your genuine self, not the role that you play, not the clothes that you wear, not the income that you have, not how beautiful you are. Truly, you want to be understood to your core, your character, your personality, just your entire being. You want to feel understood by that other person. To me, that is what a genuine relationship, for me, would be the ultimate level of success, is finding somebody that is in pure alignment with who I am and truly values me and loves me and understands me and sees me in a way that no one else ever has. And I think we all want that. But how do we get to that? The only way we get to that point is if we are truly ready to be vulnerably ourselves, truly ready to share ourselves unlimitedly with everyone. You know, I've been thinking a lot about this idea of privacy. And honestly, to me, privacy is insecurity. It is. We don't want people to know the real. And maybe because it's been dismissed and we're scared. Right? I think that's a lot of what this is. Fear of vulnerability is exactly that. I'm going to put on a mask because I'm afraid of the way that people are going to see me. Because if I share my true authentic self and it gets dismissed, that's going to fucking hurt. And trust me, easier said than done. Like I said, I go on TikTok, right, this week. And don't get me wrong. I know what content is good and which ones, some of them are really bullshit. So I understand the low views sometimes. But with that being said, it's fucking hard when you go up there and you swing the bat and you're true, your authentic self, and no one watches the video or no one likes the picture. Let's be honest. True vulnerability like that, to me, is the hardest thing to do in this life. But to me, it's the most rewarding because if you can build a life around unlimited vulnerability, you've won the game. Because now everybody that cares about you or the success you have is purely built on something that is so real and true to you that you don't even have to act. And if you don't have to act, is there anything better in life? That's unlimited comfort right there. The fact that I could come on here and fucking, I don't know, do whatever I want. If I smoked a blunt on here, you guys probably wouldn't even bat an eye. That's the best part. I'm building a life for myself where I can come and go as I please. I can go take a shit in the middle of the street and I know 20 people are still going to fuck with me. You know what I'm saying? That's awesome. In my opinion, I feel like that's why I tell people I really am in usually a pretty good mood a lot of the time. And I think it's because, and this is why I'm in this work to begin with, is because I feel like my journey is leaning into that purely authentic self and sharing that vision, that goal, the tools, the skills with other people to also reach that place. I want other people to feel the way that I feel consistently. Now, here's the thing, right? I don't want to deny the negative emotions, and that's been the new vibe, right? I'm still going to allow myself to be angry. I'm still going to allow myself to not feel good or sad sometimes. It's a hard time right now for me. It sucks going through a separation. It's not easy. I'm going to keep it real. You know what I'm saying? You still have those moments and those thoughts, and we're going to get into that. But again, just allowing myself to be me completely free of all the rules and the bullshit, it's felt really good. All right, let's get into black cat, golden retriever energy. I think this is a very important topic. So for those that don't know, I don't know, the people that are not on, I guess, TikTok and are not a girl, maybe like the guy, because I've heard of it and I've seen it and I understood it from a high level, but I didn't really get into the nitty gritty. But let's summarize it. If you haven't heard of the latest dating theory to go viral on TikTok, you might be wondering what black cats and golden retrievers have to do with dating. Put simply, the black cat and golden retriever theory tells us the most successful relationships have one very specific dynamic. And it's the woman gives black cat energy and the male gives golden retriever energy. Black cat energy is unbothered, borderline selfish, and prioritizes themselves above all else. Golden retriever energy couldn't be more different. Unlike black cats, they're happy-go-lucky, always excited to see you, and perhaps a little bit naive. So that's the dynamic, right? Is this unbothered woman, this selfish woman, or borderline selfish, and prioritize himself above all. And then you have this like happy-go-lucky dude. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. At a high level, it's really not a bad theory. It really is not. And the reason I say that is, I think about this situation with the long distance situation. That's a great way to describe it in a way. Prioritize yourself really hard. I would say borderline selfish in some ways, at least compared to other women that I've dated. And wait, what was the other one? Sorry, I missed it. Unbothered. Yeah, definitely more of that energy. It's especially early on. But here's the thing. I think really what it goes back to is exactly what we're talking about, which is, and I tell my coaches this all the time, the women coaches that I have, men love women with boundaries. Men love bitches. Let's be honest, right? They want a woman that is going to prioritize herself. It's the only way that you garner respect in a relationship. But this is exactly what we're talking about in general, about being purely authentic. The truth is you need a challenge. The truth is you need confrontation. The truth is you do need to be unbothered by some things. You need to be confident within yourself and prioritize yourself to be in a great relationship. To be honest, I feel like that's man or woman. And to be honest, I will say this. The perfect relationship in my mind is somebody that is a blend of both things. Are you a blend of a black cat and a golden retriever? I personally want a relationship where both people are both of them. Because just having one, I think, I'm going to be honest with you, I think in the latest situation that I was in, that was one thing I feel like I didn't have. I feel like I didn't have the golden retriever side, right? I didn't have the happy-go-lucky energy. I didn't have this like openness and just, risk-taking, just more flowing, more easygoing type energy. And to be honest, that was the part that really killed me. Because I still need that. You know what I'm saying? I respect the boundaries. I respect the putting yourself first. I respect, trust me, I respect the fuck out of it. And to be honest, I don't think we would have gotten as far if she wasn't in that way, to keep it real. So do I believe that you need to have that? Yes. And do I believe that more women are usually centered to be more pleasing and more, doesn't prioritize themselves very well, doesn't hold the guy accountable? Yeah, you really don't do a good job of that. That's why I have a job. To be honest, is because I help you, turn into the black cat. But I don't want to lose sight of also being the golden retriever. And for the men's side, right? Let's talk about that for a second. Like, that is a really good combination because there are a lot of men. And I think I'm kind of like that, right? I'm happy-go-lucky all the time. I'm like, woo, you know what I'm saying? Let's go. But I think I do have a little bit of both, right? I do also have that cat energy where I'm like, whoa, if you're doing that, that's too much for me. Or I'm also probably borderline selfish, right? Let's keep it real about what I want and the things I need. But I just don't love the word selfishness. Because if you're prioritizing what is true and authentic to you, you got to get rid of the idea that it's a negative. It's not a negative. And I think that's the problem for a lot of people. And honestly, I think everybody I've ever worked with, that's the issue, right? They come to me and they say, I'm just a good person. That's what it is. I'm just nice. No, you're approval seeking. You're a people pleaser. You're not actually being truly authentic when you act like that. When you just give everybody your heart willy-nilly and you don't hold people accountable for the things that you need, you're going to get taken advantage of. Plain and simple. And it's because you're approval seeking. It's not really because you're so nice. You want an outcome. Most of the people that are really nice are like, oh, I'm so nice. Okay, so did you do it out the goodness of your heart? Do you need something in return? Oh yeah, I just did it out the goodness of my heart, but he won't give me a relationship. Oh, so you want something. Are you truly being nice? Or are you trying to live for the approval of that person? You get what I'm saying? And I think the reason that they say that this theory is the one that works, like woman-man dynamic, and the reason that you have to have that, or that it's the most successful, is because I do truly believe that women tend to, in my opinion, have worse boundaries than a guy does, right? Especially in that sense. So when you find a woman with good boundaries, yeah. Do I feel like it's successful in that way? Because yeah, she'll find somebody. And I think anybody that has good boundaries, this is the thing. I don't think it's gender specific. If you have great boundaries, you'll get into a relationship. That's the key. I mean, that's what I'm teaching on a day-to-day basis to the people that I work with, right? We're going with somebody that doesn't know what they really value. They don't understand how to set boundaries and prioritize themselves and hold people accountable for what they need. As soon as they start to do that, what changes? The only people that are allowed into their life are people that do prioritize them. That's the reason as a black cat, you will get more success than you would as the golden retriever. Because the golden retriever, people pet you on the head. No, thank you. Shoo, get out of my face. You're too nice. You know what I'm saying? No, you need to have that energy that somebody is going to be willing to pay the price. And that's how you attract people that are going to stay. You know what I'm saying? But my whole thing is too, is like, I don't want to get too far into the roles, right? And this goes back to even last podcast. So on Entitled Women, we talked about how, it was the fight between highly successful women, right? And then this guy was talking about how those women are too entitled, and that's the reason that men don't like highly successful women, right? But this is exactly what I guess I'm talking about right here, right? It's the exact argument in a way, which is this. If you're a highly successful woman, you might have this black cat energy. You're prioritizing yourself really hard, right? You're borderline selfish, quote unquote. But again, you also need to have the golden retriever energy with it. If you don't have that collaborative, fun, supportive, risk-taking energy along with that energy, I think you are going to lose some people. Yeah, no guy is going to stay around for that for too long because that's too much. Now it's like, okay, I'm always at the whim of your needs, which again might work for a really long time. But then I also feel like when you are just only that, you're going to attract probably another pleaser. Right? So let's say you're a black cat woman and you're with a golden retriever boyfriend. You know what I'm saying? To me, that kind of seems like, in my opinion, if there's no actual collaboration, it's like the classic woman that dates the guy that's safe. That's what it looks like to me. The golden retriever sometimes is the safe guy. You know what I'm saying? Not necessarily the guy that you really want, that prioritizes himself very heavily. And yes, of course, that dynamic is going to work because as the woman, you're in control. You know what I'm saying? If you're prioritizing yourself and he's doing everything and he's naive, it sounds to me like pleasing. So we're just talking about it in both directions, right? But again, to me, what you're really trying to create in terms of a dynamic is something that sits in the middle. You have to be open enough to be connected and have fun with people, but you got to be protected enough with your boundaries that you do protect yourself and hold people accountable for the things that you need in a relationship. And that's where really people, I mean, again, the whole premise of everything that I want to teach is helping people find that equilibrium, right? In their approach in dating. Can you still be open, but can you still hold boundaries when you need to? Can you still speak up when you don't feel like something's right? Can you challenge him? Can you challenge them when needed? Can you tell them no? Can you prioritize yourself? But also at the same time say, okay, I can't be too self-absorbed. I also need to give a little bit. I also need to be patient. I also need to be supportive. I also need to have fun. I also need to be able to relax. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's fucking hard. What I'm telling you is like the ultimate perfection, but to be honest, there really is not that, right? Each dynamic is so different. But I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. This black cat theory, golden retriever thing, I mean, I get it. But to be honest, I want something that's a mixture of both. And we talked about this even on the last podcast, right? To me, the modern relationship or the ideal successful one looks like both partners having boundaries, prioritizing themselves, but coming together to create something successful. All right, let's talk about the trad wife in the new wave of traditional wife versus the boss babe. And this is going to be a lot of what we're talking about right now in general too. So I read this article talking about like how there's this push, the first push. Well, let me read you the fucking title. Not since the 1950s have we seen such a boom in homemaking content. So they're specifically talking about content. From cleaning hacks and pantry organization to the new domestic goddesses teaching us how to host. What's behind the romanticization of domestic life in 2024? So it's just this whole idea that our culture is kind of moving more towards now this anti-feminist movement, right? So I would assume that since the 1950s, right, women were like, we need to get out of the house. Fuck being in the house. I don't want to be domesticated. I don't want to be regulated to just, the duties of the home, right? The fucking patriarchy. Fuck these motherfuckers. And now all of a sudden we're in 2024. These women from the 60s are rolling in their grave. We got fucking Gen Zers and these right-wing type women, right? Usually there's like Catholic type women. I mean, honestly, I think there's a lot of women that feel this way. But again, I think that's generally where the movement is coming from. But just more of this turn to, no, fuck working and being outside. I want to go back to the house, right? More this traditional life approach. The new wave or the new trend is now trad wife, traditional wife. See what I'm saying? So women are like, no more. We went out of the house and we want to go back in. And this article is talking about how now on like TikTok and Instagram, there's all this influence from these large scale influencers like women that are making this like homemaking content where they have these really large families. They got a kid strapped to their chest and they're doing all the homemaking and they're making bread from scratch and they're doing all this bullshit. They're taking care of farm animals. And women are loving it, right? It's more of this idea that, or this idea that you really can't have both, right? You can't be out there in the workplace, but also have this traditional lifestyle at home. So now I think there's just this, a lot of confusion, or there's a swing back, right? To the gender roles of old, right? And it's just being this, push to this idea that women want to be more in the home. Okay, so I wanted to read you this one part of this article, and we're going to talk about each section and kind of break it down really quick. But it's going to be talking about where this traditional wife movement potentially came from, and then also the reaction of maybe Gen Z towards this movement. And I think it's really fucking good. So apparently this movement started back in like 2019, a small group of women that used to call themselves trad wives, right? And this is more a political type group, right? That is really supporting apparently the alt-right conservative group, right? So while the men of the growing alt-right are political commentators, right? The women are choosing to portray a more holistic picture of themselves online, creating this perception of authenticity and relatability with their followers. But many of them are very deliberate about the family ideal they promote. Heterosexual, white, and extremely conservative, all under the guise of going back to simpler times that for most women never actually existed. So apparently this is a movement coming from more the alt-right, right? And this is where it gets a little political, in the sense that it was better times when women were in the home and men were just, bringing home the bacon, right? And it was so much simpler and easier. But the author argues that it wasn't as easy as it was being portrayed, and that is in a way kind of glamorizing this lifestyle that really wasn't what it's being portrayed as online. Now, this person that wrote the article obviously is she's kind of not anti this movement, but she really wants to put a stop to just this idea that, or we're going more towards this archaic approach of traditional homemaker women, right? And she doesn't want people to get too influenced into thinking that is the best lifestyle. So she interviewed some Gen Z women, right? And they see it as far less sinister, right? So again, there's this like two opposing views. One, the author is pretty much saying like, this push to this archaic view is too much, right? And it's not giving us all the details. And then obviously, again, you have this traditional wife culture that is being pushed. Gen Z women see this trend as far less sinister, far less big of a deal, right? What they're saying is this modern day homemaker is different, right? It combines mocktail recipes and styling advice with shareable quotes about wife life over girl bossing. People love the practical tips on managing your home, but it's the anti-boss babe stuff that's been blowing up. We've been told we have to hustle and build this big career rather than prioritizing marriage and family. But I feel like so many of us are waking up to the fact that you can't have it all and thinking maybe that there is something in the more traditional setup. The return to the home as a backlash to modern feminism is something that this girl picked up in her research. When I was tracking what would attract young women to a traditional content, many of them mentioned that their mothers were part of this generation of corporate feminists who were working full time and not home much. And so they were trying to emulate the opposite of that, an idealized maternal figure. But on social media, that becomes a cultivated performance of cooking in beautiful clothes and arranging of flowers, indicators of time and leisure rather than the real hard work of being a stay-at-home mother. So again, this is the back and forth between just this idea of the traditional wife and, this classic, more feminist or more modern feminist movement of boss babe, right? It's the clash of those two things. And what this article is really trying to explain is this. There's really this giant boom for women wanting to be more homemakers, right? And we're seeing it all over social media, right? And this is what this girl is saying. But the author is saying, whoa, this is really dangerous. We're pushing this agenda like this is such a great lifestyle, but it really is not. You know what I'm saying? It's not telling the full truth behind being a true homemaker. Whereas like the other side of people, right, this anti-feminist movement is like, no, it is really great. Like being able to be in the home and do all these little things, and they're making content out of it, right? This lifestyle, and they almost like making it glamorous to be this homemaker, right? But also there were some good points made, being the fact that like a lot of our parents, even my mom, right, kind of a boss babe in the sense of she was working so much corporate girly that she didn't really have time to be the homemaker and support the family in that way. Now my mom was a single mom, but I guess this movement is in reaction to that, right? So I think women want to have a blend of that. And I think that's what I've been talking about this entire time. I feel like modern society, she did mention in the article or there was a quote saying how like, you can't have it all. You can't have it all in this world. And also I read something else talking about how the modern relationship is two people that are like working, right? Two working individuals that happen to occupy the same industrial space that just learn to coexist and cohabitate. And that's the modern day family now, right? It is kind of what we've been talking about, which is just this idea of two working individuals making an income for the household. So it's kind of crazy when you think about it like that. I mean, there's a lot of movements culturally to this push of, because I don't know if you guys see it all the time, right? Is it not like pushed OD about like how women don't want to work and they want to stay in the house? But what's crazy about that is, again, there's things to that lifestyle that are not as glamorous, that are not being portrayed online. And the other side of the coin too is, I do agree with the fact that if you prioritize yourself so much, and we just talked about this, right? This black hat energy, this energy of like, it's my world, no one else is coming into it. I don't think that really works either, right? There needs to be some sort of compromise and some sort of give and take. And I think the hardest part about all of this is like, who is supposed to give and who is supposed to take. And to me, that's why I'm like, it's got to be equal. It's got to be even, right? Now, do I like the idea of there being a blend of certain gender roles? We talked about this on the last podcast. I think so, right? Do I want to be more in the provider role? Yeah, I do. Right. And I think for a lot of women, they do want to be more in that supportive homemaking role. But I don't think that we could just survive on this idea that you have to only be one or the other. And just also this idea that one is better than the other too. Like being a homemaker is so much better than being somebody that works and then also supports the family and home. But I'm not sure if you could have it all. To be honest, I've never experienced that. I guess that's the hardest part about all this is like, I've never had a situation where I've had a family and been able to say, okay, we both can work and we both can be available for our children and for the home. And to me, what I really envision, I guess, my future and my life is, I do think it's going to be a blend of both, right? I do want a career where I can have the flexibility to spend time with my kid more than maybe a traditional man, to keep it real, right? And the same thing probably for the person that I would marry or date, right? Like, yes, I guess ideally, if I had enough money to support us where she did not have to work, great. You know what I'm saying? I am so in on that, and I would love that, I believe. But how do I really know, Because on the other side of the coin, I do want a hustler. On the other side of the coin, I do want a highly successful woman. And to be honest, I don't think I would be with a woman that isn't getting after it. So I guess that's kind of the conundrum here it's like, which one is the right way or the better way? And I don't think there really is one. I think it's whatever really suits your lifestyle, right? If you believe in the traditional wife lifestyle, go for it. Who's to say that it's not amazing? But one thing I would just say is, if you're basing that lifestyle off the shit that you're seeing off of social media, that's not what it is, right? I'm sure there's, cleaning diapers, doing fucking chores and doing little things that you don't want to fucking do. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure organizing and all that stuff is fun. You know what I'm saying? I know that it probably is awesome. But also at the same time too, there's parts of that lifestyle that I'm sure are not glamorous and not really that fun. Let's keep it real. And you're entirely dependent on the man for the income. I don't know how the dynamic really changes. You got to find a really good man that is loyal and wants to take care of you, And then on the flip side of the coin though too, if you're just such a boss babe and you're just prioritizing yourself so much, where does that leave room to have a great family, especially knowing that a lot of men want to be in that provider role? Now, it doesn't mean you can't find a guy that is going to be down to maybe, number one, stay at home, but number two, right, like not maybe care that you're out there going after and getting it. I wouldn't care personally. I'm not the type that I'm like, you have to stay home. No. Now I will say this, am I going to date you or am I going to be with you if you have no time for me and our children? Yeah, probably not. Because I wouldn't need to, right? If I'm providing, right, and I'm bringing home money myself, I'm going to try to find a woman that is going to have that ability to be open and do those things. So I think there needs to be an amount of flexibility on both sides. So let's get into no contact. And this is going to be a pretty decent sized section. I've had coaches that I've been helping with no contact. Here's the situation. Let me just start with the question and we're just going to let it unravel from there. So this guy reached out to me and he said, "Hey man, just came across your page, saw your TikTok regarding no contact. I'm currently in it between me and my ex and just could use anything right now for a second perspective. 1 week in, she already broke it 2 times over some unnecessary things. I told her on the second time to stop texting me and we haven't spoke since. I feel great 8 days after the breakup and have truly started improving. What kind of waves can I expect 2 to 3 months after? Just asking because I saw the TikTok and I thought it got better and better and those feelings wouldn't come up at that point." So what he's really asking about is, how to navigate no contact. And this is from the man's perspective. And this is why this is really powerful because honestly, this is going to sound insane, but I literally just the same exact experience that this guy had is this literally, I am experiencing that this current moment, right? So in my situation right now, I told you last week that we had this amicable separation. She had reached out to me a few times, you know what I'm saying, in a row. And I had to turn around and tell her respectfully, I said, "Hey, listen, this is really hard for me. Each time that you contact me, it makes it that much harder for me to move past these feelings and to move forward. I like talking to you. You're a great person, But I know for us to truly move on and, do this the right way. And I was just being direct. Remember, not being nice anymore. Because I'm trying my best not to lean into her approval or live for her approval. Because I feel like I tend to get into that with her. And I said, respectfully, I would just appreciate you to not contact me anymore. And that's really hard for me to fucking say, because I care. And I know that he said that to her, and I know that he still cares. I know he does. Because we do. As men, when we go through that no contact and we give you that, we fucking care. We care. And that's the thing is like we bury that shit because we feel like we need to. But it's hard because also somebody's got to step up and hold the actual boundary. And I think that's the really hard part about this situation. It's like, it fucking sucks that it has to come to that point. It sucks that it has to come to no contact. But the truth is like, how do you truly move on and, lean into what is the truth if you can't maintain that? So, he asked me about, I feel really good right now, first 8 days, but what's going to happen over the course of time? Here's what I feel like happens. I feel like initially, right, it feels good to have that freedom back. You're like, all right, I have all my time. Feels really good. I'm doing my thing. I'm focused on myself. And to be honest, I truly feel like it's a pseudo confidence. I don't feel like it's a genuine confidence yet. I really don't. Because I know myself. I've been through this a lot now with a lot of people with no contact and caring and dating somebody that I genuinely care about and then having to do this. The reason I say it's a pseudo confidence because it hasn't really sunk in until that first month, that second month. That's when really you start to realize, oh shit, like that's it. You know what I'm saying? Like now, do I feel like over time, if you actually stay no contact, does it get easier? I think it does, but it depends. And this is where I feel like most people, and this is where I'm going to tell you about the no contact, where this is where we got to determine if we should actually break it or not. So I'll give you an example, right? Now, well, let me say this first. Why did you break up with this person? And why did this separation happen? And I think you really need to be honest with yourself on how you got here, because I feel like there's times I know that I'm going to eventually break the no contact because maybe I said something rash. And there's also times where I feel like, no, the no contact is very firm. And like, I think I'm just going to hold true to it because it is the truth. And to differentiate those two things, to me, comes down to the feelings that you have during no contact. And what I mean by that is, like, for me in this moment, the reason that we had gone no contact, we had this very like amicable separation, is because I think that we truly understand that being in a long distance situation is not right for either of us. And based on both of our boundaries and the things that we need, we can't give each other what we truly need. So to me, I could be a little bit more firm in my no contact because we've clearly communicated to each other why we can't be in this situation. We got really fine about the needs that we both have, the feelings that we both have, and why it's not working. So what's nice is I do feel less anxious about it because I feel like I have clarity and closure. Now, the hard part about the other side is this. So I guess in this guy's situation, I think you're more on the side I just explained. But there's other times now where maybe you go no contact because of a quick or a rash decision. So for instance, the one to me that's most common is I've done this and I've seen a coachee do it as well. So I've done this when I was dating Texas girl. She had really pissed me off one day to the point that I was like, whoa, this doesn't feel good. I'm fucking done. I turn around that day and I end the relationship. I can't do this anymore. I'm done. Just stop. And then from that point, we went no contact, right? We stopped talking. My coachee, same thing. This guy was like, kind of being like, hey, this is a little too much, or like, I'm not sure if I want something serious. She turns around in that moment. It's like, all right, then if you don't want this, I don't need a conversation. We don't need to talk in person. She denied the talk in person that he wanted to have. And she said, no, I'm just done with you. And he never answered that message. So do you see how on this situation, the problem is it leaves you with less clarity. And when you make that rash decision to stop talking or break up, you don't actually get to have that conversation that you maybe need. And I find that a lot of people that go no contact in that direction, in that way, you hold on to this anxiety, right? Even a couple weeks after, a month after, 2 months after, you still feel that anxiety of like, damn, I don't like the way that ended. I feel like I should say something. You know what I'm saying? You have all these questions that keep coming up. I'm actually going to turn around and tell those people, and I'm going to say, listen, I actually would urge you to break the no contact, to be honest. Because for me in my situation, right, I'll give you what happened, right? After a month or 2 months of no contact with her, I finally reach out, and I'm holding on to this shit so long, right? Because I broke up with her without really a conversation. We broke up over text. And then I called her. I felt so much better. I just laid my feelings. I said, hey, I really miss you. And, I don't know where it's going to go, but I feel like I want to talk to you again. Start talking, whatever. We go and, shit still doesn't work out in the end. But, another story for another time. Now, Coach E, same thing, right? So she asked me actually today. She said, Chris, I'm just feeling it. I feel like I need to say something. I said, okay, if you're feeling that way, you got to say something then. A lot of people would say, no, don't break no contact. No, fuck that. Break no contact. And the reason I tell you to break no contact is if you need to get something off your chest or you need an answer or more clarity, send the message. Now, here's the thing. Here's all I'm going to turn around and tell you what that is this. And this is what I told my coachee. You can't go into pleasing. And what I mean by that is if you break the no contact, you still have to stay firm in your values. So in her situation, right? This guy, she was really acting insecure. To keep it real, she knows that too. She told me. She was dating this guy for like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And she started getting really worried when he wasn't answering fast enough. She started putting a lot of pressure on the relationship. He also said at the beginning that he was looking for something casual, and so did she. So you guys know how that one goes. But again, the energy was a lot different at the beginning. He was like almost courting her to almost date her. But it's probably because it was really hands-off and free, right? Now, with that being said, fast forward, she's acting really insecure. She's asking where he's at. He turns around, and I think she was like, what do you want from this relationship 3 weeks in? She's so anxious about where it's going and what's happening. He turns around and said, I told you it was casual. Like, I'm not really sure I want more than that. That's what it is. Do you want to talk about this in person or something like that? Hey, I want to talk about this in person. She ends up denying that and says, what's there to talk about? I'm done. I just don't, I'm out. Even though they had a good connection. But because that communication was denied, she now has held on to this, anxiety. But anyways, so she was the last one to say something, but she still wants to break the no contact. So this is how I advised her. I said, here's the deal. You need to reach out, let him know, just be honest about where you're at. Hey, listen, I've been thinking about you. I don't love the way that things ended and we ended off. If you'd be open to it, I would like some more clarity around the way that you feel. I feel the way that I said that message or the way that I acted was very rash. And if you're open to a conversation, I would love to have one. Short, direct, to the point. We're not sitting here being like, I miss you. We don't need to do all that. We're really just saying, hey, I could use some clarity, right? I do care about you. I do miss you. Are you open to a conversation? That's essentially the way that I would pose that. He actually turned around very quickly and responded, hey, I've actually been feeling really depressed. And he was like, you broke up with me and you were just so ready to be done. Like, what's more to talk about? So now he's almost like pissed about it, which, it is what it is. But here's the thing, right? You can't go into pleasing mode. Oh, you feel depressed. I'm sorry. What's happening? Blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? Oh, we're not done, baby. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not what it is. The truth of the matter is this. You wanted something deeper. He said he wanted casual, and that's the truth. And if you just jump back into the situation, what are you going to do? You're going to be just right back into casual. So if you want to have this conversation and break the no contact, that's one thing. That way you could have a little bit more clarity. Now, hopefully he's open to having a conversation. They talk about things. She can be really honest about the way that she feels. And so can he. And maybe she could feel more clarity. Hey, you know what? He just genuinely is not ready for a relationship right now. Maybe it's not the time for us. I feel like she'd feel 20 times better. Got to get it off your chest. Got to find more clarity. But here's the other thing. If you break no contact and they don't answer, you can't do anything about that. You know what I'm saying? No response is a response as well. And if that's the case and you say something and you were feeling anxious, hey, at least you shot your shot. At least you spoke up and said what you needed to say. You can't be afraid of that outcome. And my whole point is I don't want you to back down on your values and what is truly authentic to you just because you're feeling anxious and scared. Because that's not the way. Because what's going to end up happening anyways is you're going to go right back into it. The relationship is still going to be the same way that it is. And it ultimately is not really going to go anywhere. Now, if he turns around and says, hey, I've been thinking a lot about you too. And I would love to talk to you. And then they have a conversation. And then in the conversation, he's like, hey, I'm gonna be honest with you. Things were just moving too fast. I just needed more time. And I just felt like you were speeding things up and I didn't like it. Now, potentially, okay, maybe that opens the door to you guys continuing the relationship. And you see how breaking that no contact would have been successful in that moment. But again, you can't go in with the intention of, A, I'm going to back down from my values, and B, I can't go in with the mindset that if they don't answer me or respond to me in the way that I want, I'm going to throw a pissy fit or I'm going to throw a tantrum. At the end of the day, it takes two to tango. And if they're not ready to be there and they're not ready to show up for you and they're ghosting you, they don't care. Point blank. They don't want what you are offering regardless. And you need to let that shit go. And you need to give yourself that clarity then. But in regards to surviving the no contact, because that was the original question, what are you going to feel? Now, I can't anticipate how you're going to feel because, again, to me, if you have a very clear conversation on why it's not working and you know why it's not working and you know deep in your heart that it's not the right thing, to me, it does get easier by month 2, month 3, month 4. It does. Now, if in the back of your mind, you're like, dang, I don't really have that clarity. I feel like I really did fuck something up. That might be a different story. I'm gonna be honest, it's a different story. But to be honest, you're gonna get hit with those waves. So I'll give you an example of how I feel during no contact. What happens is you just get these random waves where you're like, damn, I didn't do that right. You process your feelings, When you're in no contact, it really gives you an opportunity to process all the things that they've said to you, all the actions that you guys have made to each other. And it gives you really an opportunity to see how you truly feel about things. And, but with that comes a lot of different emotions, right? I do have moments of sadness, sometimes it would be nice to just have somebody. And then there's other moments where did I really make the right choice? Did I say all the right things? Or maybe I didn't show up correct. You question yourself. Oh man, maybe if I just behaved better, or maybe if I just would have actually been more serious, then it would have worked out. Or I don't know, if I gave more, if I tried more, if I did this, if I did that. But what I find is this. If you guys are in no contact and it got to that point, there's probably a severe value difference. There is a severe reason that you guys are not in a position where that relationship works. And as I get older, I start to realize that too. And that's why I'm a little bit more quick to pull the plug on something if we're really not truly in alignment. Because you could waste a lot of time with somebody that you're going back and forth with, you're on and off with, you're on and off with. If you're on and off, on and off, on and off, something there is not right. And that's the thing, even in my situation, right? What I found was we honestly had very similar problems to the first time around. She wasn't here. She's very strict with her boundaries. I felt like I wanted to see her in person more. I felt like she wasn't giving me the energy that I needed in the relationship. And that's why we ended things the first time around. We ended things the first time around is because I felt that in some ways our personalities sometimes didn't mesh. She's a little bit more serious than I am. I'm a lot more sarcastic and goofy. And the second thing is the energy to see each other, right? she was prioritizing her family, her friends, and all those things above the relationship, which makes sense. I get it. You know what I'm saying? We're different people, but I would have prioritized things differently. You know what I'm saying? I would have wanted to see you more. I would have wanted to do things more, but those are just two people with fundamental differences in the relationship. You get what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying. I recognize that when the second time around, I'm realizing I'm like, I'm still feeling the same way. You're still feeling the same way. You're upset about maybe like the things I'm saying to you or the energy that sometimes I give you. I'm not feeling satisfied because I'm not seeing you. We're in the same exact position as we were before. Let's cut it out. Let's cut it out. You know? And that's when you just got to be really firm and stern. And like, again, even though I have those feelings, right, on a day-to-day basis of like, you know, I still, of course, like through my day, I still think about like, oh, I wonder what she's doing, or I wonder how she's feeling, or, you know, like I always think about like how something is going to affect her. Right. Because I care about her. I do want her to be happy and all those things. And it is hard because a lot of times, sometimes our egos get in the way too, right? We're like, we almost want to be the one that was right. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, sometimes I feel that way and I shut myself down when I feel that way. And what I mean by that is it's like thoughts like this. Oh, she's gonna realize what she lost. You know what I'm saying? She's gonna realize that she should have put more effort in. She's gonna realize, but you know, and I'm like, don't think like that. She gave me what she was willing to give. She is who she is. She believes what she believes. And if we were truly authentically aligned, it wouldn't be this way. And I need to just be happy for her that she was able to show up and be authentic with me. And she is going to find the right thing. I'm going to find the right thing. But like I said, I'm going to bet on myself and be true to myself too, because to be honest, I realized that I wasn't getting my needs met. Right? And I think when you're in no contact, like that's what you need to, like, to me, the thing that you need to fall back onto is forget the glamour, forget the companionship. Were you guys truly in alignment? Why did you guys even stop talking in the first place? Because more than likely, those are the same reasons that you guys will stop talking the second time. And I know that we miss them, and I know that we care, and that's what you need to realize. You need to elevate yourself above that and say, yo, I know that I care about this person. I know that I really like this person. But if things were truly meant to be, it would be different. It would be different. You know? So maybe the no contact is necessary because, to be honest, you have to have no contact if you're truly going to separate and move on and lean into what is true to you. And if you guys are not in alignment, that's just the reality. But like I said, if you're feeling some sort of anxiety and you just can't do it and you're not sleeping and it's just wild, say something. I don't want you to think that you need to, it's an ego game. The reality is most of the time you're not ruining the relationship because you break no contact. You're not ruining the ability for that person to care about you more. Now, are there times where I feel like you need to hold a boundary? And if you're the person that has been contacting, do you need to like reel it in a little bit, self-regulate a little bit? Yeah, I do. I do believe that there's times where I'm like, no, don't fucking say anything. You've already said what you needed to say, or you've beat a dead horse at this point, right? There's people I work with where I'm like, you've sent the last 7 messages. At this point, it's falling on deaf ears. We got to cut that shit out. You know what I'm saying? We got to stop contacting. There's times where I'm going to push you to contact and say something. And then there's times where I'm like, listen, we got to regulate. We got to believe in ourselves. We've got to trust that the right thing is coming for us, that this wasn't the right thing for us. Because if it was the right thing for us, we would be in alignment. All right. I hope you guys got something out of that. I love you guys. And I will talk to you very soon. If you ever want to work with me, you know where to find me. Apply for coaching, read the newsletters, take the quiz. And I appreciate you guys a lot. All right. Have a good one.